friends, and welcome back to the Intuition Activation Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica, a spiritual medium and intuitive coach, and I'm so excited that you're here to join me for this intuitive development journey. Guys, I'm so excited to bring this episode to you. This week's episode comes from some conversations that I was having with two very good girlfriends. One you know very well, which is Indra Kelly, and the other one who you're going to meet today is the beautiful, magical Sage. Now, the three of us like to hop online together sometimes and just work on strengthening our intuitive abilities. We practice energy healing together, but every time we hop on a call, we end up chatting for about 3 hours and the conversations go on and on and on. And one thing that's come up in our conversations a lot have been how intuitive our kids are. And this is something that I really notice a lot about people who are old souls, such as the beautiful listeners of this audience, or have a unique soul, right? If you're an earth angel or a starseed, typically your child, or at least some of your children that are going to come through you, are going to have similar soul journeys because they know that you as their parent are going to understand them and be able to help them with their mission and their path and their purpose in this lifetime. And so we find that usually incredibly intuitive women tend to have incredibly intuitive children. And so that's really what this episode is all about. It's kind of the three of us just chatting about some crazy stories and things that have happened that we've discovered from our own children and the intuitive things that they have sort of brought through. So there's some anecdotes there and some suggestions on things that we have done as mothers to help encourage our children to continue forward with their intuitive gifts. I really feel like if our children didn't have weren't socialized out of their intuition, that thing that we were born with, then they wouldn't have to go through a spiritual awakening. We come into this world already awake. What shuts it down is social conditioning. And so if they have parents who are awake and aware and encouraging those intuitive abilities right from the start, then you don't have to go through a spiritual awakening down the road. You're just awake all the way through, and you have this beautiful, strong connection with the creator, with source, with your spirit guides. And so we talk a little bit about that and then some of the crazy magical things that our own children have done. And yeah, I'm just so excited for you to dive into this conversation amongst three moms and three friends. It's going to be a fun one. Before we do that, I did want to read the review of the week. And remember that those of you who give me a 5-star review and send it to me through a DM on Instagram, I will gift you with free access to my Meet Your Spirit Guides course. So this week's winner goes out to Visits with Cardinals. So thank you so much for your beautiful 5-star review. And her review reads, Intuition activation has helped me so much on my intuitive development journey so far. Jessica provides beautiful monthly energy messages, real intuition exercises, and tons of tips to further your intuitive journey. Visits with Cardinals, thank you so, so, so much for your beautiful 5-star review. I'm sending you a free access to my Meet Your Spirit Guides course. If you want to be the next review of the week, don't forget to do the same and send me a DM at I am Jessica Rachel. But otherwise, I am just so excited for you guys to dive into this episode. So I will catch you on the other side. Welcome, Indra, and welcome, Sage, to the Intuition Activation Podcast. I'm so excited to have you guys both here. Hi.
Yay. So excited to be here.
So I have to give a little context of how we even ended up here, why we're having a conversation with all three of us. But essentially, you guys know Indra. This is like her third or fourth time on the podcast already. Incredible intuitive. But Sage is also a really incredible intuitive. And she and I have been doing some private coaching together. We've been working together one-on-one. But we also discovered that we have some very similar channeling abilities and some similar gifts. And so Sage and Indra and I have been doing a lot of channeling together in the background. We've been hopping online together and just doing a lot of. Sage is a really talented energy healer as well. So we're discovering she also activates energy in people. So just like a really incredible intuitive. I'm going to get you to actually introduce yourself, but I just needed to give that forefront. But one of the times that we were hopping online to practice our channeling together, we started talking about how magical all of our kids are and how there really is something to be said about these spiritual individuals who have these like really, really interesting souls for children who are like starseeds and earth angels. And they tend to come through these particularly intuitive women. And so we really wanted to do this episode all about what, the crazy intuitive things that our children have done and said, and also how we want to or bounce off each other ideas on how we can encourage intuition in our children as well, which is a question that listeners ask me all the time. They're like, I think my kid's incredibly intuitive, but how do I keep that going beyond childhood so that they don't second guess themselves? So that's why you guys are here. We're going to talk about all of the things. So welcome. Yeah, I guess we could just dive in. So maybe we should each start with who our kids are and how many we have and what their ages are, and then we can go from there. So I'll go first. Hopefully some of you guys know that I have two sons. So my oldest son Noah is 3, and my youngest son Benny, who's actually screaming right now in the background, is just turned 1. So I have 2 little boys. Sage, what about you?
Sure. So I'm a mom of 5 awesome kiddos. So I have a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 7-year-old, and 5-year-old. And we have 4 girls and a boy.
So crazy.
Yeah. So much fun.
I love it. Indra,
So I'm Indra, and I have one. Her name is Harlow, and she is 12. Oh no, she's going to be 12 2 weeks.
yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So awesome. So I would love to start with this. Okay. Because all of us know that our children are like particularly unique. And I know every mom feels that way. Like everybody feels like my child is very, very special. And that is so true. Every soul is very, very unique. But there's something to be said about the particularly spiritual individuals, potentially souls who are maybe star seeds, right? Whose soul most recent incarnation wasn't here, or maybe earth angels, right? Where we tend to bring through these babies who also maybe aren't from here because they feel most comfortable with another soul who maybe is going to understand them or help them a little bit more on their journey. And I'm curious if you guys knew that something was different about any of your children. I know, Sage, you have 5, so maybe not the case for maybe not all of them, but maybe some of them. And like, how did you know? And then I also would love to talk about there was definitely very distinct moments prior to conception and even during pregnancy where these souls really, really spoke to me. And there was a lot of experiences like that. And then they came through and I was like, wow, like you were right. Like that is that is what happened. So I would love if you guys could share like some of those stories.
Yeah. So, okay, I'll go. I have one. I'll make it short. When I got, so Harlow, it took me a year to get pregnant with Harlow. And Jessica, we talked about this before, that like when children are coming from like the angelic realm area, it just takes them a little bit longer to come through. So I had to wait for a little bit for her to come through. And when she did, I remember seeing her heartbeat on the monitor. I was around 7 or 8 weeks pregnant, and I knew right then and there it was her. It was a girl, and she was coming, and I it was the most beautiful moment. And then I could feel her energy in me. It was incredible. But when she was born, a lot of people I think they get emotional and they're like, "Oh, it's this baby and meeting her for the first time," or whatever it is. And with Harlow, it was like we both recognized each other, and it was so calming. And it was like, "Oh, hello." And there's a picture of her. They had just put her on my chest, and the way she looked at me and the way I was looking at her, we were just like old souls together that just recognized each other. And she like smiled at me, and it's on, we have a picture of it. It's the coolest picture. And it just solidifies and confirms that our souls just recognized each other in that very moment. And we just knew. And she's a very, very sensitive, very empathic little baby. She always has. She just knew things. Even at 2 years old, she was talking in the back seat, and she would go on and on and on and on and on. And her dad and I were separating at the time, and she would just give me like this advice. I was like, where is this advice coming from? This like 2-year-old that's sitting in the back seat. But in all actuality, hi, Benny. Benny just made an appearance.
Sorry. Now we're talking about our kids. My little one made an appearance. He's screaming his head off, and he's having
Oh,
a
that's so random.
I'm gonna nurse him. It's okay. Keep going.
Yes, but she would channel like as like a child, like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and she would just the thoughts that were coming in her head, she would just start talking them out loud. And yeah, a lot of the times I was like, and this isn't Harlow, but like, this is somebody else coming through, giving me all of this advice. And for a while, I don't know if I should say this story for later.
Yes, we share the story about Susan.
I know. Okay, this is where I was
Okay, do
going.
it.
So then, like around 5 years old, maybe even earlier than that, she'd walk around the house and she'd come up with this character and she'd talk in an English accent. Hello, I'm Susan. And no, you're Harlow. And no, I'm Susan. And she had a cane and she had this whole like persona. She was Susan. And she was very like, it was very strong.
British, right? She was like
Very,
British.
yeah, British, very British. Like she just knew like there was things that she would say and do. And it was like I had this moment when she became Susan. I was like, oh my God, she was like my mom in a past life. Like the way she's talking to me, it just brought back a lot of feeling. So this went on for a few years. And then I had my first reading with Jessica, and Harlow wanted to hop in for like the last 10 minutes. She's like, I want to know about a past life. So Harlow jumped in on the last 10 minutes of our first call together. And she's like, I want to know about a past life. And immediately, without knowing about Susan or anything, Jessica picked up on a life that Harlow and I had. It was our most recent past life. And she was my mother in that lifetime. We had a house in London and a house in the countryside of England. And we were like this like affluent family. And sure enough, Harlow was Susan. That is awesome.
It's so crazy. They like really, really remember.
That is amazing. And I was talking to a few women. This has actually come up a few times very recently. Children remember who they are from a previous life, really up until the age of 8. It can come in at any time. I've had imaginary friends growing up when I was young. I don't recall me going into a past life where I was walking around the house calling myself Susan, but I had an imaginary friend, Chrissy, who later, when I started to connect with my guides, she came through. And she was a guide of mine that was very, very real to me when I was a child. Also, when I was a child, I could see spirit in shadow form. So I don't remember seeing Chrissy, but it makes me wonder, like, was I actually seeing her? Or was it just a sense of knowing? But most likely seeing, if I could see spirit at that time anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Sage? Have any of your kids ever done anything where they like shared about a past life or?
So much Harlow, my son, who's the only boy in the family, as just has, I think, claircognizant, like just has this knowing about things. And ever since I think he was 4 years old when he looked at me, I was like, Mommy, what is more important in life, peace or love? And he's 4 and he's looking at me and he has his hands across, like cupping my face and looking in my eyes. He's, what is more important? And my biggest advice to parents who have kiddos who are super intuitive or super sensitive or know a lot about the universe is that you ask them what their thoughts are first. Don't tell them what you think, because I find that I'm fascinated by the things he says. But he said, I think that they're both the most important. If you have inner peace and inner love, you can spread it to the world. I was like, you're 4. Like, I didn't know this.
I know. We've talked to our little kiddos, Sage.
But I would say growing up, I always knew I would have 4 girls. I had 3 sisters. My family, my sisters and I would always plan out like growing up that I was going to be the one like my mom. I was going to have the 4 girls. There was like no question it was going to happen. I didn't know that I was going to have 5 kids, but but I knew I was going to have 4 girls, and I never ever expected when I became pregnant that I would have a boy. And the similar story to Indra, when Otis came out, I have the exact same photo she's describing of Otis with the biggest smile on his face as a newborn baby, and everyone being, he's just gazing up at me, and everyone being like, how's that even a possible photo? And it was just this sense of, oh yeah, you were supposed to be in my family. Like I never expected to have you as a boy, but, and all along being pregnant with him, I felt like he was a girl. But my other daughter, who is super intuitive and has psychic abilities, she would always call him Bucky, baby Bucky. No, mommy, it's a boy, baby Bucky. And we didn't find out what the sex was of any of our babies. We would keep it till the end, till a surprise. But since day one, since we told her we were pregnant, she would call him Bucky. She would say it's a boy. She told mommy it was going to be a boy every time she would talk about him. And then when he came out, sure enough, like he was a boy. And so I think she just had this sense of who he was going to be. But in working with Jessica and learning about different past lives, Otis has now come up in 3 different past lives as someone who was either, most often, my little brother, I think is what it has been in most of the past lives. And oftentimes while we're in the session and learning about those past lives, it will, at some point, the spirit guide will say, and this is Otis, so my son. That's been really exciting and fun to learn about. And I've actually talked to him about it. And there's also been past lives where my mom has been my mom. My current mom has also been my mom and has been his mom. And when I talked to him about it, it was just this sense of, that's because we have a triangle between us of love, he says. And so that makes sense. Nana and you and I, a triangle of love. So it's like the sweetest thing. And then my 10-year-old who has the psychic abilities for sure. Is this Penelope? Penelope, yes. She
So gifted.
has the most vivid dreams for good or bad. Like she will have scary dreams that she says feel so real. She teleported in her dream the other night. She woke up and told me all about how she was teleporting street to street. She has a set inner knowing about when I was talking about pregnancy. She can see someone that we know that's pregnant and she'll be like, oh, she's having a girl. And she has been 99% correct in that. She's just very gifted at knowing things. And she also has deja vu all of the time. And there's been points when she was younger where that scared her. And it's something that we would talk about, but it's something where she's not understanding why it's happening to her, but it happens a lot. She's my kiddo who has deja vu a lot.
Yeah, really, really cool and so interesting. Yeah, I've had a different experience, I think, with Noah. I know that he's incredibly intuitive, but
Mhm.
it comes out in really weird, like, spurts. And maybe it's just because he's so young,
Yeah.
right? He's only just turned 3, but there's one thing that like really stood out for me before he was born. And I was pregnant with him, and I remember distinctly, I was exactly 4 months pregnant with him. And it was just like one day, I did a lot of meditating when I was pregnant. And one day I was meditating and I just felt like this warm calm come over me. And I could tell him, like, okay, like this baby's about to talk to me. And this warm calm came over me and I saw this vision. And he was talking to me and he told me, Mommy, I'm coming.
So I was at an event. It was a women's entrepreneur event the other night, and as a giveaway gift at the end of the night, they give you like these handmade soaps, and it was really cool. It was tie dyed and homemade soap, and so I'm thinking to myself, Penelope is my very artsy, crafty kid. Loves to make things constantly, every day, making things, crocheting, crafting, making earrings, all kinds of stuff. Thought to myself, Penelope would love to learn how to make soap. I'm going to take this home to her, and she'll learn how to make soap. I kid you not, my drive was maybe 7 minutes, and I got home from the event. I walk in the door, and Penelope hands me this like circular. She basically took all the materials from making resin earrings and made a soap bar, and she handed it to me and said, "Mommy, I was thinking about making this into soap." And I was like, out of nowhere, I've never talked to this kiddo about soap or anything, but it was like too coincidental to be in that 7-minute period of driving home. So definitely
Like that.
the
Oh my God.
telepathy.
It's like we're talking about like our kids are like telepathically connected to us, right?
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
oh my God. I
Yeah.
had this thing
Like,
with Noah last week. I swear it was last week. I don't know what came over me, but I was like super craving orange juice. And like all I wanted was orange juice. And I kept forgetting to buy it at the grocery store. It's literally in what? And, oh, yeah. But and I kept forgetting to buy it at the grocery store. And my husband took my son shopping and he like threw a fit in the store begging my husband to make sure that he bought orange juice, and that wasn't on the list. And my husband's like, why? And he's like, so certain that he wanted it. So we get home. My husband's like, he opens, he's okay, here, Noah, like, we got the orange juice that you threw a fit for. And he's like, no, this is for mommy. And I'm like, what? How did he know? And I had forgotten to put it on the list. It was so crazy. I'm like,
That's so cool. So
yeah.
the other day this happens, yeah, Franklin and I were pretty like connected, but the other day I was like, I don't think she has a lunch today. And so I was out and I came home and I made her a lunch. Yeah, I made her a lunch and then I went to the school to drop it off. And as I was dropping it off, she was coming into the office to call me to ask me to bring her lunch. And I was like, oh, I just dropped it off. She's like, how did you know? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I need to hear you tell me that you needed lunch. It was like this whole thing. And then there was another time I was coming to the school to drop something off and she was coming out of the bathroom right by the door I entered or like across from the door that I entered. And so as I was coming in, she was like coming out of the bathroom and she's like, hi. I was like, hi. Well, we have a lot of those moments where we're just like seconds from each other in that way. Yeah, the lunch.
I heard this from somebody, and I can't remember if she was like a medium. I think she was. I think I was listening to a podcast where there was like this medium who, like, it was really, really like part of her family's culture where they, like, I guess they were all mediums, or they were all like really believed in their psychic abilities, and they would actually like work on strengthening their family telepathy, and they would call each other through their mind I remember her saying like this one story about how it was so developed that like she was flying home on a flight to go visit her parents, and she hadn't visited them in a long time, and she had remembered when she was on the flight that she had completely forgotten all of her toiletries, like her toothbrush and her toothpaste, whatever. So while she was on the plane, she was telepathically sending messages to her parents, please pick up this toothpaste and this deodorant and whatever, because I'm not going to have anything when I land. And the mom like comes to pick her up from the airport, and like when she goes to sit in the front seat, there's like a bag full of all this stuff from like the pharmacy, and she was like, I don't know, I just felt like you might not have had all of this stuff. And she's like, did you? And she said, did you phone me, quote unquote, phone me on the plane? And she was like, yeah, I did. And I'm like, that is so cool that you can actually like work to strengthen that with your kids.
Yes,
Like,
I love that.
maybe it doesn't even have to be your kids. I feel like you could do it with anybody.
Everybody. Yeah.
But there's something
like
about
that.
the mother-child bond, right? Like I feel like
Right.
already energetically you're linked. I don't know.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So there is this other time that's coming to mind. Harlow and I were in Sedona, and on the way up, we were listening actually, Jessica, to one of your podcast episodes.
Oh.
And Harlow was very much into it. And so when we got to Sedona, she had so many questions about 5D. I think it was like one of your earlier episodes. You were talking about 5D. And Harlow was really interested in that. So we were on a hike walking through the canyon in Sedona, and she was still asking me about the 5D at that point. And so I said, let's pull over onto the side of the trail and we'll hold hands and we'll connect energetically. And then let's just astral travel to the 5D, right? This totally normal. We hold hands and I close my eyes and I bring us into meditation and like I take us to the 5D, and I had my eyes closed and I could see the 5D like spinning around us really fast. And so when I was done, we opened our eyes and I said, what did you see? Before I told her what I saw, I wanted to see what she saw. And she goes, you had your eyes closed and I had my eyes open, and I saw the 5D spinning around us really fast.
Wow.
And I was like, no way. I had my eyes closed. And that's exactly what I saw too. Oh, cool. Yeah. Really, really cool.
You have a little channeler in your home.
She for sure is. Since forever. Since forever. And she used to see spirit, but it's like little lights, like little twinkle lights, but maybe like little orbs, I guess. And then she saw our dog as a hologram. Our dog had passed, and she saw our dog like a few days after he had passed as a hologram.
How old was she?
Huh?
How old was she when she saw that?
Was it 2021? Around March of 2021, March,
Okay.
April, May, around that time. Yeah, around this time of 2021.
Yeah, very, very cool.
I think it's interesting, like having highly sensitive kids and kids who are very intuitive because there's a different kind of like parenting style in terms of like really believing them and really listening to them. I find with Penelope, like if she's crying and scared to go to sleep at night because she's telling me she sees faces or she's worried about the dream she's going to have because she has super vivid, I'm sure she's astro traveling all the time. And it's just, it's helping them feel safe in that it's okay, that it's normal. This is actually like a superpower. This is actually very cool that this is happening to you, but also helping them understand that like you believe them.
Yeah.
Like that it's not, they may, I've even had Penelope when she's thought something and then actually it happens, or she's had a deja vu of something that is constantly happening to her. She gets a little scared or nervous about it. And I just find if I can help her feel confident and comfortable with it, that it's just a normal thing. And actually, it's super cool that it's happening to her. She can feel safer in it. I think that's a big part of helping these kiddos.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's like a matter of encouraging it versus telling them like, oh, you just had a bad dream or
Right.
oh,
Exactly.
you just imagined it or it's you just have a wild imagination, right? I know like my parents always used to make fun of me because I was such a daydreamer, right?
Hmm.
And they were like, oh, Jessica's always off in her own universe, right? She's always in the land.
Hmm.
And true. And of course, then it got attributed to ADHD. Oh, she's just inattentive, right? And like it needs to
Hmm.
be fixed rather than what's going on in that world of yours, right?
Right.
And I
Exactly.
wonder what
Yeah.
that scenario would have looked like had it been encouraged. And of course, I love my parents, but like no spiritual bone in their body necessarily. Like they wouldn't have known anything about any of this, right? It's just not, was not in their vocabulary. But, and so obviously they just attributed it to like a medical issue. But it's so interesting that I always wonder, and what I also sometimes wonder if there's something to like children who are neurodiverse, right? If that
Sure.
means like they're maybe just on another level in some ways in
I
life,
absolutely
their
believe that.
superpower, right?
Yes, I absolutely believe that. I have a nephew that's autistic, and I just think that he's at such a high frequency, high vibration that it just causes him to be so overstimulated, so super hypersensitive to things. And I truly believe that with neurodivergency, because I think I look at it again as like a superpower. Like it's not, I don't think it's something to look down on. It's something that is like actually amazing.
Yeah, and like I do attribute like people who are ADHD, such as myself. I was diagnosed when I was 7, guys. Like it was so obvious. And like they do say we tend to be more visual. We tend to be able to like problem solve in a very different way. So I actually think that it makes me a better channeler in a lot of ways because my brain works in such a roundabout way, right? Like
Mhm.
logic is so beyond me. So like it makes sense that then like it would affect my ability to channel or create my ability to channel in a very unique way. So I definitely think that like parents, if you're out there and you think, oh, there's something wrong with my kid, I wonder if you then tried to encourage their intuition, like you would
Mhm.
just see how actually incredibly magical and talented they are instead, which is super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one of my greatest joys as a parent is trying to really see these kiddos for who they are, not try to tell them who they are, like really understand deeply who they are, listen to them, understand them. And I think the most exciting thing is to find out who they are going to be. Like what lights them up in life? What path are they going to take? See the little things that get them excited or that they're into as little kids, because we often see as adults like we revert back to those things we were so excited about as kids, and those often become a clue to like our path and our where we go in our careers and everything. So I'm so excited as their paths unfold to learn who
Y-
they are.
Yeah. And as you listen to them, you build their confidence. They start trusting themselves a lot
For
more.
sure. Yeah.
And when they start trusting themselves,
Mhm.
they know that you have their back.
For
They
sure.
Your confidence just like it skyrocket.
Mhm.
And I think then they are so comfortable with who they are
Mhm.
that I know that when I was intuitive and seeing spirit as a child, but like I was like the little like a weird kid. And I didn't have a lot of friends, or like my friends would come and go. And I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself because of that. And I think I had the support of trusting myself. And that carried on as I got older, as into an adult too, is just trusting yourself
Mhm.
and building the confidence from that. And if we can start as moms, as parents at an earlier age with our children, then their intuitive abilities are going to skyrocket. Because right now they are like,
Yeah.
just- they're in it.
Mm-hmm.
They just need the
Yeah,
support and love and encouragement and confidence to keep doing it.
Yeah.
for sure.
Also,
Like I've,
oh, go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead,
Oh,
Jessica.
I was just gonna say ditto Indra. I was a weird kid.
That's
You're
so
a little
funny.
weird. Intuitives were just a little weird.
That's so funny you guys are saying that because that has literally been the conversation in my household the last couple of weeks is like people, like kids calling other kids weird, kids saying this thing at school, and my kids talking about it at home, and us talking about how actually the things that make us weird are actually our gifts that make us individuals. And if everyone was the same, like the world would be such a boring place. And so I turn it around for my kids and I'm like, weird is actually cool. It's a cool thing to be weird because it just means you're different and you're willing to be yourself. And I think that's like the major lesson in life is be yourself.
100%.
Sage,
We're all
I think
given.
you've been my mom. You're like so nurturing. I'm like these conversations. I
We
was
also have a saying in our house that is don't yuck someone's yum.
Oh, I
Which
love that.
don't
That's
like
what
don't
I
make
do.
fun of someone for some food that they like.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone gets like their own food. Like what who are we to say what people should like or what
Yeah.
their taste buds are? So
My
yeah,
daughter loves like oysters and mussels and like
my kiddos too.
name it. Like
Sushi. We eat a lot of sushi at my house. The kids.
yeah.
Oh, so do we. Actually, people were making fun of us at the grocery store today because I had my 1-year-old and 3-year-old eating a whole thing of raw fish, and they were like, "Really?"
Yeah. Oh yeah. We
what
get that too.
All right, that's what we're into. I do want to dial it back into because, guys, like we've had these conversations before and they need to be shared for this audience. You guys have so many stories, and I do too, of the crazy intuitive things that your kids have done. And you're just like, I can't make this stuff up because I know you guys have those stories. And I also want to bring, okay, I'll tell you guys mine and then you can think of yours. Okay, so I have two that were like really incredible. One was we were sitting on the swing one day. Noah was 2 years old. He was very advanced in speaking, so he could speak pretty fluently at 2 years old. We were sitting on the swings one day, both kind of like zoning out, and he looked at me one day and he just said, "Mommy, before this, I was older." And he was like, "I used to be much older than I am now." And I looked at him, I'm like, "Uh-huh." And then what happened? He goes, "And then I was up in the sky for a while and like I had some wings and you were there too and you had some wings. And then I came back down and now I'm little again. Why?"
Why?
And
I feel that every day.
I was just like, "Oh my God," like he remembers it. And so I very distinctly remember when Noah was born too, that like and even when I was pregnant with him, I was like, "Oh, this is an angel baby." That has always come through. That word angel baby has always come through. And I really, really do believe that his most recent incarnation was in the angelic realm. And so the fact then at 2 years old, he was like, "I was older and then I had wings and now I'm here." He almost remembered like two lives, right? There was a time when I was an older man, right? And then so that was incredible to me. I'm like, "Oh my God, like you remember."
That is
um,
I have two that just popped in my head when you were starting to tell your story. One is very similar in that I was at a dinner with Penelope and two of her friends for a celebration dinner after a theater performance. And I have these little cards that it's conversations with kids. And so you just pull a card and then you read it to them and they kind of give you their answers. And we were doing that and it was what is something that you want me as an adult to know? And Penelope looked at me and she goes, that I'm way older than you, that I've been here before, and that I'm just doing this again. And I was like, wait, what?
wow.
And then her friend chimes in. These are, at that point, they were probably 8-year-olds. She chimes in and she said, yeah, I was up in heaven. I was given the choice to come down here. I looked around. I was like, all right, I'll try it. So that popped in my head. Another one that popped in my head is when Otis was snuggling. We snuggle at night and he was snuggled in my arm and he's, "Mommy, I knew you were going to be a good mommy. I remember the moment that I picked you. I looked down, I saw hundreds of mommies and you were sitting at a table eating chocolate chip cookies with Nana." And I said, "That's going to be my mommy. She'll make a really good mommy." I'm like getting goosebumps telling you this story. And she snuggled so close and I was right.
Oh,
Yes.
that's making me cry.
That's sweet.
Yeah. So sweet.
Like Penelope Harlow did that to me. I'm older than you. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm an older soul than you. I'm like, I'm a really old soul. I'm older. I was actually done. And then I came back for you. I was like, well, sorry to bring you back here.
That's so funny. Oh my
Yeah, so she reminds me a lot that she's an older soul.
Oh my God. I have two other stories with Noah. Noah has so many. I'm always like, I can't believe this kid sometimes.
Wait, what about the story? I'm sorry to interrupt there. There's one story though where Noah saw the spirit in the corner of the room. It was your
Oh, yeah. I wasn't even
yeah.
thinking of that one. Okay. Yes.
Is that
This
your
happened a lot.
grandfather?
Okay. It was his grandfather. So my husband's father passed away when I was pregnant with Noah. And so we named Noah after him. His Hebrew name was Baruch. So that's Noah's middle name is Baruch, which actually means blessing. But his English name, he was Russian. So it was Boris.
Okay.
So we're like, I'm not gonna name my kid Boris, but we'll use his Hebrew name, and that's Noah's middle name. But anyway, so when I was so when Noah was a little baby and I would nurse him, he kept looking up to the top left corner of the room, and he was always looking there and reaching towards it and looking at it and staring at it. I'm like, what is there? It's an empty corner of the room. There's nothing there. And it was like up near the ceiling, kept staring at it and staring at it. And he'd been doing that ever since he was a baby. And he was older, and then we were like now two, right? Somewhere two and a half. We were also like nursing to sleep, and he sat up and he's looking in the corner again, the same corner. And he goes, "Oh, there's Boris." We'd never told him that his late grandfather's name was Boris. We
Yeah.
always told him it was Baruch because that he had the same middle name. And he goes, "Oh, there's Boris." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Yeah, he sits there in the corner. Every time you're nursing me, that's where he is. He sits there." And I said, "And have you seen him before?" And he said, "Yeah, he comes and plays with me and he shows me how to use tools and do building stuff." And guys, my father-in-law, he loved to mess around with his tools. That's all my husband's favorite memories with his dad are like
Yeah.
building stuff in the back shed. And like my husband kept all of his tools after he passed away because it's like such a special thing. So
Yeah.
that my son is like saying that he's coming down and visiting him and
Playing
playing
with
with their tools.
Like, there's no coincidence in that.
And we
That's
never
yeah.
told him that his name was Boris. We always said, "Oh, it's Baruch, like your middle name." So it was just so crazy. Yeah. So he definitely sees spirit.
That's
This kid is
awesome.
crazy. I know he's done that. And he was the one who told me I was pregnant with Benny. That one was a funny one. Did I tell you guys that one?
I remember
Enjoy that one. Okay, this is I will tell you this. So with Benny, I didn't find out that I was pregnant with him until I was already 12 weeks pregnant. I was like 3 months along because I had taken tests and they were all negative. So I just assumed I felt pregnant, but the tests were negative. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm not. Something's weird is going on with my hormones. And
we knew that you were.
we know. I'm right. But then at that point, I was like, I'd taken so many tests and was like, I'm driving myself crazy. All the tests are negative. I guess I'm not. Right. And so then it's 2 months later, and Noah keeps climbing up on the stool that we have in the kitchen, and he keeps kissing my belly and saying, "Baby." And I'm like, why is he doing that? And my friend was over once when he was doing that. And she goes, "Are you really sure you're not pregnant?" I was like, "I'm so sure. I've taken so many tests. Like, I'm not." And she runs to the drugstore and gets one anyway. She's like, "Just take one more." So I took one more and it was pregnant. And then when I finally went and got checked out, I was already 12 weeks along. So it's so crazy. No one knew, but I didn't.
So funny. I love it.
Yeah. I'll have to ask him if he knows about the next one.
I know.
It's time. Yeah. Anyway, it's so funny. Yeah. So definitely he's an intuitive one.
They can keep their intuition going and they're just building. It's like a life skill. I think a lot of adults, they don't tap into their intuition and they live in their head. And some may fall out of alignment because they're working with like ego and surrounding stimulus and stuff like that. But if we could teach our children to stay true to their intuition and follow it,
Yeah.
what amazing adults, right? And even teenagers. I remember when I was younger, my mom, when I was like a teenager, she would tell me like, listen to your intuition, listen to your gut. And she named this intuitive sense of, she named him Fred. She's always listened to Fred. Yeah. So I think my parents were a little bit more spiritual than they let on.
Yeah.
My dad could see spirit too in one of the houses that we lived in, but that's another story. So she would tell us to listen to Fred. And that's her telling me to listen to my intuition. And I think, but if we can teach these kids at a younger age to listen to their intuition and hold it at value and have and trust and confidence that their intuitive sense is right, then as they get older, maybe it will, maybe they'll like not mess up a lot more, but like maybe they'll just be more in alignment with who they are authentically in a more continual, the words are getting away from me, and a more and more streamlined.
They won't have to
More
like have a
consistent basis.
yeah.
Yes.
Forget. That's been the trajectory for a lot of us. We're like, we were really intuitive kids.
Mhm.
And maybe like nobody around us explained it or whatever, and or we got scared by it and we suppressed it and it goes away. And there's like this latent period where we just don't connect to it at all. And then some point it wakes back up within us and we have a quote unquote spiritual awakening. And wouldn't it be so nice if our kids don't have to have an awakening because they're just awake and they stay awake, right?
Right.
They come in so
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I was trying
I
to
feel
say.
like
there
I
you
feel
go.
like I almost feel a sense of, it's not a sense of responsibility, but like one of my goals is to help them cultivate that, help them develop it. And I think by pointing out those times that it has helped, or the just in the moment, even if it's like a kiddo gets invited to a play date or something, I'll be like, just check in with yourself. How are you feeling about going to this person's house? It's like actually like helping them understand how to use their intuition. And does it feel good? Do you want to? Is it something, is it a yes? Is it a no? Helping them tune into their bodies, I find to be really, really helpful. Even as young as my youngest has just turned 6, but I just find it to be helpful if you can take those moments of like real life
Mhm.
situations and help them cultivate that trust in how they were feeling. I find that to be very helpful.
That's a really good tangible way to do it. It's definitely like to have them connect with their gut feelings with their body, right? It's something that they can understand a little bit more than channeling, for example. And I know that I've been trying to do that a little bit more with Noah, but this is a good reminder to continue to do that. I know I ask him, right, like, what is your body telling you, right? Does it tell you that it wants this or that? And we do play a little game sometimes when I'm just like, what do we want to have for dinner? Like, I just, the never
Yeah.
ending what to cook for dinner
Mhm.
spiel. And like, I know with him, and this is also something that you can explore. I learned in human design that like there are some people that they need to be offered two choices,
Yeah.
or it has to be left open. And so with Noah, it needs to be two choices. Like if there's too many choices, you just leave it open ended. He's no answers, right? But if I
Yeah.
say, do you want this or this? So instead of me just asking, I've put them both in front of him, and we've been like, hey, you hold one in each hand, right? Which one does your body lean towards? Which one
Love
do you want to
that.
try more? And he's like,
Mhm.
oh, my body's leaning towards the banana or the apple. Which one is it? So that one's been fun to see. And then the other one we've been doing lately is because, especially at this age, around 2, 3, there's really like this fear of like body permanence, right? They like, if they get cut, it's, oh my God, am I dying? And they really, that's why they have these huge reactions, right? They're like, if the blood comes out, do I just die? Is that? And so we have this like mantra that we have in our house, which is my body is smart, my body will fix it. But then I'm like, and you can help your body by closing your eyes and picturing in your mind it healing. And then
Mhm.
it's gonna get better. And so now it's so cute. Whenever he like gets hurt or cut, you see him, he just sits there and he closes the eyes. Okay, my body is smart, my body will fix it. And then he just goes like this. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing? I'm picturing it getting better. And I'm like,
Oh, I love that.
love it. It's so cute.
So I also love like the clairsentience we're all teaching our children too. Like, where do you feel it in your body? Is it a yes?
Yeah.
Is it a no?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it's like those little things that like if we can cultivate that now, that's normal, that it's a normal thing to check with your body. How many adults are out of tune with their bodies and like what their bodies want? I feel like it's a really good life skill we can teach them.
Yeah, but okay, here I have to ask you guys this question though, because my kids reject my energy healing. Do your kids like it or do they? I'm always like they're too pure. They think that my energy is not. They don't want it. They run away, they move away. They don't want my energy.
So Carla she has energy too. So she calls in energy. She'll do energy healing on me.
Okay.
And I do energy
Love
healing on her.
that.
So if she's not feeling good, if like her body's just out of whack, if she doesn't feel good, if she has a tummy ache, if she has a headache or whatever it is, she can't sleep, she'll
Mhm.
ask if I can do some energy work on her. And
Uh,
yeah, and I love that so much that she's
Yeah.
able to ask for it. But then also I'm like, can you do it on me? So
yeah,
she
hey.
put her hands on me and she does it. So we're very lucky in my house.
Oh, my boys move away. And the dog also. I've tried to do on the dog. He leaves the room. Like everybody hates my energy. Yelling.
Oh,
Guys, I've been Reiki attuned. It's not, and I also like I call it my own energy. I've sent healing energy to clients. My kids, my dog, I don't know. Maybe they're too pure and mine is just not clean enough for them. I don't know what it is, but they just everybody runs away.
So
They're too
I have,
powerful.
I have a friend, her son he has like a version of cerebral palsy, so he's not able to walk or talk. And I'll do energy healing on him. And when I put it like up here, like on his head, he starts laughing because he can feel the energy, like the tingles of it. And so he'll like just start laughing. And then he'll usually look to the right. And I've seen like an angel come through for him. So he is supported with there's like an angel that comes through for him. And I almost certain that he sees this angel. But it is like the cutest thing ever when I do energy healing on him. He loves it. He laughs. He's like he feels it all. And then he'll try and hold my hand too. So it's
Aw.
so cute.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Typically, the advice is do the energy healing on your kids. Most kids respond, there's just something weird about me and why.
I find my kids and I don't necessarily do a whole energy healing on them, but I often find they just like my hands on them. So whether it's just on the back of their neck, whether it's on their back, whether it's right on their heart, they're often like, even in snuggling, they take my hands and put them places. So I almost feel a sense of like they're taking my healing hands and wanting just to
Yeah.
place them on themselves, which is really sweet.
They know what they need, right?
Yeah, they like have an inner knowing about what they need, which I love.
And they're
Uh,
picking up on your beautiful energy, that you're this healer, which you're discovering more and more lately.
Yes, that we're just unearthing, which is so magical. Yeah, for sure. I had a thought popped in my head. Do your kids talk about, my kids talk about dragons and mermaids and fairies. And Otis the other day, my littlest is building a fairy house outside. And he was like, oh yeah, the fairies are definitely there day and night. You just don't get to see them. Like he always just has very matter of fact things to say about things. And he was talking about mermaids and dragons the other day. They're definitely alive and they're definitely real. They just live in a different realm.
Yeah.
Wow, he's
Carlos
so
said the same
wise,
thing.
eh?
Yeah.
He's so wise. And to be honest, he is my why guy. Like he will ask questions, 1,000 questions a day. And I'm always asking him back, reflecting back to him, what do you think? And the things that he says are just mind blowing to me. The facts he knows, the things that come out of his mouth, this like confidence in just knowing things. And then I often have to research because I don't know the answers to the questions he's asking, but he knows them. And then I look them up and they're correct. Yeah,
Wow.
it's fascinating. But yeah, for him to just matter of factly on the way to like carpooling, driving to school and talking about dragons and mermaids being real.
That's like that clear cognizance that he has. He's just so tapped into the source at all times that it's just spouting out of his mouth all the time, right?
Yeah. I remember a couple like maybe last year we were snuggled into bed and that's when his downloads come late at night when he's snuggled in to go to sleep. And he said, there's so many different religions in the world and they're all talking about the same thing. And I
Wow.
was like, how do you know this as like a 6-year-old? You're absolutely correct.
Wow. Oh my God, he's gonna do big things. I can feel it. He's
Yeah.
here for something big.
Do your kids talk about like dragons or mermaids or fairies?
I'm trying to think. Like maybe he's too little or he's never heard about them. I know when I was a kid though, boy
Mhm.
was I obsessed with all of those things. Like I definitely favorite movie was Little Mermaid, would watch it constantly.
Mhm.
I found a bunch of stories that I'd written because like your parents keep like your old like journals from when you were a kid and
Yeah.
like your school workbooks. All of my school workbooks, whenever it was like creative writing, I was always writing stories about fairies. So that's cool. So I know
Yeah.
like me as a kid, I was definitely like that. But
Mhm.
my kids, maybe they're too little still. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I have a tree talker too. My
Oh,
oldest
yeah.
one had major long conversations with trees and she will just matter of factly, like when she was 3, I have like recordings of her talking to a tree and I would say, hey, who are you talking to? The tree.
Yeah.
Like, what? I was in the backyard. Like,
Yeah.
what else would I be
Noah
talking?
definitely does that. He definitely hugs and kisses every tree and he's talking to
I
them.
love that.
So cute. I have videos of that too. It's so sweet. And they're just like,
The
yeah,
kid is
duh.
so
What do you mean?
so
Of course you can
healing.
talk to the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Indra.
Oh, sorry. Touching the tree is so healing. And you're feeling the energy and
Yeah.
And then, fun fact, Jessica told me, she said, "Did you know if you touch a tree, you'll be able to see stuff?" And I was like, "Really?" She's, "Yeah, go try it." So
Oh, yeah.
tried it a few times, and sure enough, like I have an ability to see what the tree has seen during its lifetime.
Whoa, that
Yeah.
is so cool.
But teaching, so when I was doing that, my daughter and my niece were with me, and they were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Touching the tree." So I'm like, "Come over here." So we were in Versailles, outside of Paris.
Yeah,
We
you
were
told me
like
this.
on the grounds at Versailles, and we're touching the trees at Versailles. And my little niece was like, "I can feel it. It's like vibrating and tingling my hands. I can feel it." And
Oh, yeah.
it's so beautiful when they can just sit and be present
Mhm.
and channel in with the tree.
Yeah.
They weren't able to see surrounding history, but
Yeah.
they were able to feel the vibration of the tree
Mhm.
and start grounding themselves and connecting with the frequency. Just amazing.
Guys, this
Aw.
has been so much fun and so cool. I feel like we could talk forever about this. And like, I know when it's like, we can definitely rave about our children forever and they're so magical. I would love for us to just share, like, just out of your own mind, even if it's like something you haven't done yet, but maybe you want to do, if you could give our listeners like one suggestion of one thing that they can do to just help awaken or can is I don't awaken's not the wrong is the wrong word because they're already awake, but like to establish or continue that relationship with your kids to help continue with their intuitive abilities going forward. So how do you cultivate that with your kids? What's something that you either already do or just a suggestion that you would give to help parents continue with that with their kids?
I think my biggest suggestion is to really just know your kiddos. Get to know who they are and listen to them, believe them when they tell you things. I find the greatest gift is that we get to connect with these little people who may or may have not already been here. And so they know way more than we know. And the more we can help them understand who they are and find their passions in life, I think just really finding out who they are is part of why I became a parent and one of the most exciting parts about being a parent.
I love
Yeah.
that. Andrew,
They come as our children. We have soul contracts with them. So they're here to teach us something as well as we're here to learn something from them and they're here to learn something from us. But I think ultimately it's just listening to them and without judgment and without the comments and the doubt, being able to listen to them and encourage their imagination and trust them and allow them the space to talk openly without fear of judgment or telling them that they're wrong. I think yes, and they do that in a lot in with like improv. It encourages the imagination to grow. So to ask the kids, yes, and what else did you see? What else did you feel?
Tell me more. We use that a lot at my house. Tell me more.
Yeah. And also encourage them to go outside more, connect with nature. I
Hmm.
think there's so much that we do inside with electronics and stuff. I think getting our children back outside and connecting them with nature is really important. Whether they're just outside playing in the front yard or they're going on hikes or going to the beach or whatever it is, just connecting with nature, I think is really important.
I think that is a really good point, Indra. And I think that's one of the most important because I find, especially with highly sensitive, super intuitive kiddos, like I almost see their bodies as like electricity running through them and they're like super sensitive. And that grounding makes such a big difference. I find modeling as a parent what I do every morning. It does not matter what my day looks like. It does not matter what's happening. I go outside in my backyard barefoot for 5 minutes and just take breaths. And I've noticed I have a bunch of kiddos who now follow me out there in the morning just for 5 minutes. And we don't do talking, we don't do meditating, we don't do anything. We literally just put our feet on the ground for 5 minutes and take a deep breath and listen to the birds. And if that's all I can do with them in the 5 minutes in the busy, crazy chaos of the morning schedules, getting them all out the door for school, I feel like I've done like a job to set them up, a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
love
You know what
that.
else comes to mind is coloring with them. A lot of intuitives, when they color, that's when a lot of the channeling comes through, or when they're drawing or
Mhm.
doodling. And I think with our children, it just when they color, they may be more open to talking and sharing and channeling, perhaps. So that's another thing to focus on also. But I think ultimately it's really listening to them.
I do too. I agree.
Yeah. And on a more fun level, this is something I want to start incorporating more with my kids. Like play games, right? You can play intuitive development games if you
Mhm.
want, right? Hold some markers behind your hand or just one and see if you can see the color, like those kind of things. I really love that idea of that medium whose family like just called each other, quote unquote, in their mind
Right.
and messages to each other, encouraging the telepathy piece. That seems so cool to me. I'm like, that's something I definitely want to do with my kids as they grow up, to just feel like we're so connected. We don't need technology. Like, I'll just know what's in your mind and on your heart all the time. Is there a bug there, Sage? Just jumped three
Oh, look.
up.
Because it's right next to me, and it just,
Oh my
yeah.
God. I just saw her. She like looks and goes, oh, there's a bug. We'll have to look up the spiritual meaning of that bug. It
I
probably,
only saw it out of the corner of my eye. That's
oh
why.
my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, so definitely play some games, make it fun, don't force it. And I think you guys are right. Like the modeling of it is definitely one. I know, like my son, I every morning, like with my kid, when the baby goes down for a nap, that's like my workout time. So I'll have Noah in the room, and he'll just be playing with trains or Lego or whatever. And that's when I get to have a minute to just work out without the baby
Mhm.
around. And then afterwards, I'll go meditate. And I don't ask him to meditate with me. I've tried that before. He's not interested yet, and he doesn't want to do deep breathing. He doesn't want to meditate, but he sees me do it. And I think like eventually he'll pick up like, oh, this is a thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That, and we have at my house, we have sound bowls and we have like balmy drums, like and I find even if there's a super busy, super chaotic moment, if I just sit down and I play like one of my sound bowls or play one of the musical instruments we have, next thing I know, I have other kids sitting next to me and they're playing instruments too. And so it's like just a way to ground us and center us. And again, it's just modeling. I didn't say anything to them. I didn't say to them, come sit with me or anything like that. If I just do it, then I find they follow. So I think it's not what you ask them to do or say for them to do, but it's what they see you doing. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, I love it. So beautiful. Well, guys, this has been so beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. I feel like we could have three other podcasts with all the things that we have in common and want to share and talk about. But for the
Yes.
sake of our listeners, we'll spare them a 3 hour talk. This has been so beautiful. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you for having
Well,
us. This is amazing.